Thanks to everyone who supported us over on Patreon. If you want additional episodes every month, you need to go $1. Back us for just $1 a month over at patreon.com/boardsandswords. Watch very closely now. 3, 2, 1. Bzow! Check that out.
We want the fun. Gotta have that fun.
Is it okay if it's okay if like when the bread touches the fries?
Do I really want to just stand still and cast a lightning bolt? No, I want to avoid you and shove a lightning bolt at Grace.
I just crapped my alien pants. By the way, I just want to let you guys know.
You hate all of us, and we're fired.
I've released poison into the AC system. You all have about 5 minutes left to live.
So much news, like all this stuff to talk about.
No, there's been some stuff, but it was all boring.
You didn't go with C.
Well, you need to go with C.
And our friends, we combined.
You've told that story.
We combined. Have I told it on the podcast?
I'm pretty sure
you have.
told it.
Well, I'm telling it again.
Because I just realized as I was reading this that this game's already been done. They even made a show about it. It's called Yu-Gi-Oh! And go watch it.
This is Boards and Swords.
Hey out there, everyone. Welcome to Boards and Swords. This is a podcast where we have bad jokes, we got good folks, and we got some board games as well. Who are we? Well, I'm one of your hosts. My name's Chris Renshaw, and I'm going to throw it over to Mr. Philip Herbig.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? That's right. My name is Philip Herbig, and we are coming to you live at 6 p.m. That's right. It is. It's still 6 p.m. Don't look at your watch. I see that.
What are you talking about?
Okay, it is 6 p.m. Time is not real.
Time. You are right in the sense of A, it is 6 p.m. somewhere. B, who knows when someone's going to watch this? It could theoretically be 6 p.m. wherever they're watching it. And
That's right.
C, we need to get rid of daylight savings time. But I'm of the opinion we keep the time of daylight savings time. Like, I like it being 7 right
Forward
now.
and stay forward.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it is. I am driving home like with the sun still up
Yeah.
at 5 o'clock.
Yeah. See, that's nice.
Well, that's because Beatles like Well, yeah, I wore a lot of beige because
Yeah, because he would always do
Working.
the podcast, like he would come to the house from work most of the time, or at least stop by his house, and it wasn't enough time that it was worth changing.
Yeah.
So that's why if you've ever seen the video, there's a good chance Philip's wearing beige. When he's at home, he can at least go change before on the times that we've recorded straight after work. But anyways, it's been great the past couple of episodes because it kind of, you would think when we're almost at 200 episodes, I would have figured this out by now, but it helps to plan things a little bit.
Nah, fake news.
But
plan things
we've
around
actually got some decent show material for you today. So let's start with some news. All right, first things up. I just want y'all to know that I've been contracted by the Legion of Doom to make recruitment posters for them. I'm having a hard time. This is the best I've got so far. It's not villain you, it's villain us. And so, first news story I have for y'all is harness the power of the dark side with Star Wars Villainous. So, for those that may not be aware, if you don't know anything, Villainous was started off as a Disney game where you played as Disney villains and trying to, you're being bested by, the heroes of the, you pick a, I've never played it, so that's why I'm kind of talking out of my butt here a little bit. But basically, you have a deck that's your villain, so you play as, now I'm going brain dead and I can't think of a Disney villain, Jafar or whatever. And you have your goals that you're trying to complete, and then you've got cards that keep you from doing that, whatever. Then that game has done tremendously well because it's a very simple-ish kind of game, a very family-friendly kind of game. There's been a lot of expansions, and then they expanded it because Disney owns everything. They did Marvel, and in fact, I've got Marvel Villainous down here where you play as Thanos and some other Marvel villains, and they've even done an expansion where you can play Loki and such. So it only makes sense that Ravensburger announced Star Wars Villainous, Power of the Dark Side, a new Villainous board game for released in August 2012 or 2022, not 2012, not 10 years ago.
That'd be nice.
Players assume the roles of various Star Wars villains and go on missions in the Star Wars universe. This game features the following villains that will have each their own villain deck, fate deck, player board, and 3D. Oh yeah, so that's the villain deck, the fate deck. That's where I was talking about like your own problems and issues you got to work out. So you got in the base game here, Darth Vader. Is it Asajj Ventress?
Asajj Ventress.
Asajj Ventress. Kylo Ren, Moff Gideon, and General Grievous. That's a lot for the makes me think maybe they aren't planning to do a lot of Rustobito says villainous Munchkin in 3-2. One of the stories that got cut was there's a Munchkin Batman on Kickstarter right now. And as much as I don't care to play another Munchkin game, I was a little bit tempted. Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. The game consists of players using their cards and villains' ability to achieve their unique win condition. Yeah, so it's a very asymmetric kind of game because everybody's got their own villainous plots that they're trying to get forward. So
I'm just trying to think of like what Vader's villain ability would be.
Force choke.
Probably force choke.
Force choke. I am Bat Munch.
There's a what was it? What game was it?
For the record, this is the Marvel Villainous right here.
Oh, I like how they did the artwork on there.
Yeah, so the Marvel one had Thanos, Hela, Ultron, Killmonger, and Taskmaster.
Oh, it was Force Unleashed.
Mm-hmm.
So like the intro mission is you play as Vader going to pick up the Starkiller Kid, and one of the achievements you can get is like a horrible office manager or bad manager or something like that. Because if you let all of your stormtroopers die that are on your backup or whatever,
right?
But the dude was friggin' invincible because all I did was just slowly walked in a straight line and like around the and all he was doing all the time was just deflecting bolts back to where they came from. Like nothing ever hit him. I didn't take any hits ever.
I always thought that was funny that it was Star Killer because that was like originally the first draft of Star Wars. That was his, that was Luke Skywalker's name was Star Killer, and like they had like stormtroopers even had lightsabers and stuff.
Okay, that could be cool.
Well, yeah,
Can you make that.
I think somebody did. I think I remembered somewhere somebody made like or animated or something the original script. Like it was bad.
No.
Like it was infamously bad. All right.
On a scale of like,
I think it was like holiday special
episode
bad.
2 holiday special.
I think we were talking holiday special bad. All right. If in some realm, if you could somehow market like versions of horror movies for children, do you think that the first movie would be called Seesaw?
Got him!
So in the never-ending saga of, hey, this video game's popular, let's make it a board game. Which did that Deep Rock Galactic Kickstarter end? We've wrapped that up now, right?
That got 100 million% funded. They even when they sent out the message, they were like, "Hey, yes, the last stretch goal, you guys did unlock it. We just can't update the picture after the Kickstarter closes."
All right, but Dead by Daylight, the board game, is coming to Kickstarter. Level 99 and Behavior Interactive are teaming up to make this Dead by Daylight game. 2 versions will be part of the campaign. That's pretty standard. Original and a deluxe. Clean publisher. So Level 99 is the people. They're the ones that made Millennium Blades, for reference.
Okay.
March 29th, 2022. So probably about 2 weeks away. The board game aims to be a tabletop version of the popular hide and seek video game. So yeah, if you've never heard of Dead by Daylight, it's a pretty popular game in the past couple of months where I think it's 5 players total. Like one player is a a horror movie villain or serial killer, whatever, and the other 4 are trying to like outlast and like kill him and stall him, and whereas the villain or the one person's just going around trying to kill people. So
That was another game. We saw it at PAX East.
there's been a lot of games like this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, are you talking about board game wise?
No, not board game wise. Talking like video game that they're basing the board game off of.
Oh, okay.
It was you played some giant creature, and there were 4. Yeah, you played a creature, and 4 other people could play hunters, and they were hunting you down, and your job was to hunt each other down. What?
This game is Dead by Daylight is more the 4 other players are just trying to like survive. Because like the whoever plays the hunter has like supernatural powers because horror movies.
Exactly.
By the way, Rusted Beetle confirms that George Lucas is not a good writer of dialogue, but he can worldcraft. But boy, some of that early stuff is rough. The board game includes familiar staples, getting back to Dead by Daylight, distinct survivor and killer personas, items, perks, and props, trial grounds. It's accessible for players of all skill levels. Let's see. It'll be 2 versions. Rusty Beal is also asking, Evolve might be the game you're thinking of.
Yep. I just found the trailer. Yep,
So
Evolve.
Dead by Daylight, the board game, will be available for pre-order on Kickstarter. 2 versions. Standard edition, $49.99, includes 6 killers, 7 survivors, 2 maps. The collector's edition is, of course, $99.99 and includes 16 killers, 17 survivors, and 4 maps. So you get 10 more killers, 10 more survivors, and 2 more maps. The featured survivors and killers are drawn from the original cast. Hello, Gregory, in the chat room. And includes a complete roster of characters up through the All Kill DLC. So, yeah, this... Just like Deep Rock Galactic, this is probably going to do extremely well, no matter how the game actually plays. Like Dead by Daylight's another. Like if I pulled up Twitch right now, which funny because I'm on Twitch. Like if we pulled up the Twitch page, Dead by Daylight's usually a very high running category, and it's a game I've bought but I've never actually played.
Oh really?
Because the concept is something like I bought it. Like I bought like a bunch of copies for the family because it was like the concept sounds like something we would all play together, especially if you could do like a small custom game. But at the same time, it's like getting everybody to want to play the same video game at the same time is a hassle.
Yeah.
So you've never played Dead by Daylight, have you?
I have not. I have not played.
Yeah, it can get kind of competitive. From what I've seen, so I'm not that surprised you haven't played it. And from what I hear, it's best played like local group of friends over Discord, kind of kind of way of playing. That's there's a bunch of people around here that I know that play it, and that's the kind of the way they play. So yeah, if you're interested in that kind of game, the link to the article is in the link to the article will be in the show notes. But yeah, I'm sure it'll if you're interested when that day comes, the 29th, it'll probably be everywhere. Yeah, people in video game communities sometimes forget how bigger, this is from Rusted Beetle, how much bigger video game communities are. So when a video game IP is made into a board game, the sales are quite high from the crossover. Yeah, because that's like video games are like the total amount of people in video or in board games is like what one community is like in like. I'd be like the total Dead by Daylight community. As you can tell by the fact that all of board games is grouped into one thing on Twitch, whereas every other game has
own specific. Yeah.
Like there are days I've seen Star Wars: The Old Republic MMO has more people watching the stream than there are people watching board game streams.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Because it's all time dependent. Anyways, moving on. If you start a fight in a cafeteria by smacking your opponent with a plate, is that a betrayal? So Hasbro loves that Betrayal at House on the Hill so much that they're bringing a 3rd edition. Avalon Hill returns to House on the Hill. Betrayal at House on the Hill 3rd edition, designed by Bruce Glasgow, which is currently on pre-order for customers at Hasbro Pulse. Pulse is their Kickstarter, basically. It's a pre-order page where they're like, hey, did people want this? And then if nobody backs it, they're like, guess not. Glad we didn't waste that much resources on it.
Yeah.
Like recently, I've just now started seeing in stores the reprints of Hero Quest.
More Hero Quest.
Exactly. Yep. It's a but getting back to Betrayal, it's a semi-cooperative game in which players explore a mysterious abandoned house, blah, blah, blah. This new edition will include 50 scenarios for players to explore, including material that was not part of the earlier editions, and 12 all-new characters. It's designed with new players in mind, with updated artwork, rulebooks, and playing materials that will help less experienced players get into the game quickly and easily. Oh yeah, I forgot all about the GMT P500. Gregory points out in the chat room. That's another one of these. In fact, I think that's only how GMT is a company that does a lot of war games, and that's why it wasn't on my mind, because I don't play a lot, like any of their games really. But they do a P500 where, like, if 500 people sign up to buy, I think that's how it works. If 500 people sign up to buy a game, then it goes to print. But you'll hear this kind of comes in funny, this paragraph here talking about updated materials, because you'll find out later that's something that a lot of people are talking about, because we're going to be talking about things publishers should do more of. And spoiler alert, focusing your games on getting new players into them is going to be a big reoccurring theme. However, I do see like the miniatures look at least a little bit different from what I've seen in the past. So that's good, because usually like the miniatures in Betrayal were always like the worst quality of miniature. Like whatever the cheapest mold printing thing was, that's what it usually is.
Yeah.
So if you've never played, Betrayal, which at this point is kind of hard to believe, then there's a 3rd edition of Betrayal coming out. There's some people that are probably really excited about this. I'm not one of them, only because it's like Betrayal's fun Betrayal's like Munchkin. It's fun until you learn other games. All right. So now I'm sorry, we're gonna move into some Pokemon news here. If an app existed that tracked Pokemon bathroom patterns, would it be called Pokemon Go? So this article that I put up here is really short, but it was just the concept was very intriguing to me. There's going to be a Pokemon Go expansion for the Pokemon trading card game. And I'm not quite sure what that means. And there's not a lot of reference here, because it's like Pokemon Go, it's the same. We're talking about the same Pokemon. So like maybe some of the what are they called? Trainer cards might reference the game, I think. However, the one thing I did see, the only thing that I saw that was unique to this is if you look through the actual images, there are Team Instinct, Team Mystic, and then Team Valor boxes for the thing. So that's the one special thing that they're doing for Pokemon Go that you wouldn't see in other things. And hi Poncho, thanks for the puns. I'm glad somebody thanks for the love for the puns. I'm glad somebody likes them. There'll be more later. Just FYI, just heads up. What's up? You got a thought rolling around.
Pokemon, the trading card game, Pokemon Go.
Yeah. This hits what this makes me think of is that they know, so the trading card game always lines up with the video games.
Yeah.
So like whenever they kick to a new like quote unquote core set, is always when like a new game series starts. So, like the past couple of things, it's been Sword and Shield because that's the current quote unquote generation of games. Well, they just announced that later this year there's going to be a new generation. It's going to be, was it Scarlet and Violet?
Yeah, something like that.
And this makes me think that's like, guys, we need like a filler set to get us to that one.
Yeah. Oh, I saw so many people when they announced the Scarlet and Violet. They're like, "Are you serious? I just bought Arceus."
Well, see, that's like a side game though. That's not like the main generation game.
It still costs $60.
It does. It's because Switch games never go on sale.
Yeah, I was more looking at like what they're doing with this. Remember when Words with Friends came out with Words with Friends, the board game?
Yeah. Or when they did the what was it, the Queen's Gambit, the board game, which is like that's just chess, y'all.
So you mean chess and Scrabble?
You know what this also reminds me of? So there was like Candy Crush, and then there was Potion Explosion, which is like, hey, let's take the match 3 like Bejeweled Candy Crush thing and turn it into a board game. And then they made that into an app.
Yeah.
That's what this reminds me of. So, like I said, there's not a lot of news here. It's just the thought that was kind of like, that's weird. And now I've probably saved the best story for the last. And Philip was like, we should talk.
Headline alone has me invested.
Philip wanted to talk about this first, and I was like, no. This has to be the last story. So, speaking of Pokemon, you might call this next story Chara Bizarred. And that is, Georgia man buys rare Pokemon TCG card using the Small Business Association COVID-19 relief loans. Sentenced to 36 months in federal prison for wire fraud. So, U.S. Department of Justice convicted a person, I'm not even going to bother reading their name out, on one count of wire fraud for using a Small Business Administration relief loan. So these were the loans that like the I think it was, weren't these the, was it, there was a term, it was like,
at the start of the pandemic, you were supposed to use these loans to like,
and it was like if you use them to keep your employees on staff, you didn't have to pay them back or something like that.
Yeah.
Or you had like zero interest on them or something like that. So he used that relief loan to purchase a Pokemon TCG Charizard card. He spent more than $57,000, or I guess it doesn't. I don't know if that's.
Yeah, well,
it does say he. It does say
man.
he. That's true, and I did say Georgia man. So he spent $57,000 of the $85,000 relief loans on the rare card. He received it as a part of the economic injury disaster loan doled out by the SBA during the pandemic, as stated by the DOJ. He had claimed on the relief application it was to own an entertainment services business that supported 10 employees. Congress appropriated funding to assist small businesses struggling through the challenges of the global pandemic. Like moths to the flame, fraudsters took advantage of these programs to line their own pockets. Yeah, this sucks because I do remember at the time when these loans came out, because everybody like flocked to them, there were a lot of businesses that needed them that couldn't get them. Mm-hmm. And then hearing somebody like this get some, it does make you like really mad.
And there were a lot, not even that, there were a lot of extremely large businesses who had no business applying for these things.
Yep. But I got to thinking about this. I was like, there is one scenario in which this was okay. There is a scenario in which this was okay. And that was if he actually had a site where he was buying and selling cards.
Yes.
Like if that was his business and not he just used the money to buy the card for himself to keep forever.
$250. Sorry, I went to the next sentence. $312,000.
Yeah.
For a 1999 Shadowless.
Mm-hmm.
Base set Shadowless?
I think so usually that means there's like an error in the card, like there's something that's wrong with it. So
He
maybe
didn't,
some of
he
the,
didn't have a
it
shadow
didn't
on
have
the
a
ground.
shadow on the
probably.
ground, so then it's
Okay.
more rare.
$250 for shipping. What the hell did you ship it in?
No, that's the guy has it in his seat and he's got it like in a case and he's hand delivering it to you, and that's the cost for his flight to your house.
That's a pretty cheap flight. What'd you get?
He's flying Spirit.
Flying Spirit. Okay, gotcha. It's probably not even worth it.
Okay.
The Pokemon card was forfeited during the investigation.
Well, yeah.
Some FBI agent's kid has that.
But it was supposed to be applied to payroll only. Okay, that's fair. I thought that it was you just didn't have to pay it back if it was for payroll. So no, it shows how much I know. I know nothing. But he was also so he had to pay back the $85,000 and $10,000 fine on top of that, plus 36 months in federal prison. So.
And now you don't have a Pokemon card.
Yeah, given the stuff that's down below, it makes you think that $57,000 is actually cheap for a Charizard.
Yeah, right.
There's been that's during the pandemic that was all the rage, and I guess even still now is then like first edition Charizard cards. It's making everybody go like, "Ma, where's my cards?"
Right? Like I need to go home and like
I did not have Pokemon cards.
I've got some that are in German too. So like
Ooh. All right, so that was your news. That was your news. So I forgot to ask you ahead of time. Did you have any gaming stuff you want to talk about? No new Kickstarters come in. You haven't backed anything at the $250 level.
Power Rangers hasn't. Renegade.
Did you? Okay, there's a starting point. Did you see that they did a bunch of announcements for Power Rangers?
I did see that Renegade put a whole bunch of announcements out, but they haven't started the Kickstarters yet.
Are those so that what was it?
That's right. You're right. Some of them might just be
was it Time Force
pre-orders? Huh?
Was it Time Force? That was the they had a new box. Like there was a new Monsters box.
Oh,
and then,
it's the
or it was the Fifth Rangers or something like that.
No, it's not Fifth Rangers. It's bad guys that turn into good guys.
Ah, yes, the Light and Dark.
Yeah,
that was what it was.
So
Yes,
like,
that's right.
That's going to be real cool having, and I hope they do it. I think they were doing it because the people were putting up pictures of the cards. It's like, yeah, you're going to have
for people that you already have the minis of. Here's the cards so that you can play him as a good guy or a bad guy, vice versa.
And if you don't have, like, I think some of the guy, like I think Korag.
Mm-hmm.
From Mystic Force. I don't think we have any of him yet, so it's going to have all of his stuff.
Yeah, Rusted Beetle mentions the announcements were all retail releases, not Kickstarter. In fact, a lot of them, I was watching one of them, there's a lot of their releases they're not even doing through retail stores. It's just pre-ordering on the website. That's all that's how many they're going to make.
See, I should have paid attention.
I skimmed through some of them. I'm just having trouble remembering what they are right now. So I will say Rusted Beetle brings up the G.I. Joe and Transformers deck builders. You may want to look into that Transformers one because I have a friend that's told me about it recently. He got it. He was also really excited about it, and it did not impress very well. So that would just be a maybe watch a couple playthrough videos or some stuff before you throw down the money on that one. Although I imagine they probably all that one and the Power Rangers one all probably play the same.
More than likely.
So flipping back over here. So but I did finally play a game.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. It was literally Friday. And it wasn't the game that I expected. I was probably going to play like one game in real life before this, and it's not the one I did cuz we got snow out of nowhere yesterday.
Yeah.
Was that predicted? And I just don't look at the weather?
It was.
Okay.
But we all looked at it and we were like, no, because it was 70 on Friday.
Yeah. Yeah, so like it was funny. I was sitting on the couch and then Ashley was on the phone with her mom and said something about snow, and I was like, Oh yeah, it's like really snowing outside. Like actually, like not just like a couple flakes. Like it's actually coming down.
Yeah.
And then I was like, but it's like 44 degrees outside still. And then I got close to when I'd have to go to Warhammer, which is the game I thought I'd be talking about. And it was like, it's dropped below freezing. It is still snowing. And also, you'll hear about this in the bonus bits. I sprained my ankle. And I was like, none of this is adding up into I should be out on the roads.
You'll be sitting down the whole time. Your foot will be fine.
Well, it's more of getting from the car to the store I was worried about.
The ground will be iced over. You can just slide.
Ah, yes.
Be great. See,
I just need to get my skis and just push.
Exactly. I've got solutions, man. I'll help you out.
I'll just take the wheels off my skateboard and just
There you
slide
go.
on that. Impromptu snowboard. But instead, we found out that one of the guys in our Marvel Champions group is moving away, and it's like, no, we're in the middle of a campaign. You can't leave. So it's like, all right, we need to finish our Thanos campaign is the one we're in the middle of. So the last time we played, we horribly got wrecked by Thanos, and so we were expecting like, oh, well, we'll just replay it to try and get a better outcome. And it's like, well, crap, he's leaving. We probably really should get to the end of this. Plus, somebody's like, oh, by the way, I read the rules wrong, because spoiler.
We should have been winning this whole time.
No. Spoiler for those that have played or haven't played the Thanos one. When one of the schemes progresses too far, Thanos does the snap, and you remove from the game half of your deck, like not even in the game anymore. And he thought that means from the start of the game, from now on, you take half your deck and remove it and play with the other half, which is very bad, especially because, like, for me, that means like I was playing Iron Man, a lot of my armor pieces and stuff are now gone. Whereas in the Thanos game, I had them mostly out before the deck got halved. But it was like, no, it turns out instead you just discard the top half of your deck when you start playing. And then it's like, okay, well, that just means I'm going to shuffle my deck through and get an extra encounter card. So once we found that, I was like, okay, we don't need to play through Thanos again. We could play the next one, which was definitely a lot better. It was long. We probably played it was probably like a 3 to 4 hour game.
Wow.
But it was definitely manageable. I'm not going to play or say what it was for those that haven't played it yet. Let's see. This button. There we go. But it was funny if you look up the stream, just how many cards were on the table by the end of this game. Just the table is just littered with cards
Oh,
by
Lord.
the end of it. So yeah, that's been my one big gameplay thing here. So hoping I got to do a makeup game, I think on Tuesday, since I didn't make it to 40K this week. But yeah, it's been wild because we're finally getting back into that. Okay, we need to we're getting comfortable meeting in person for games and stuff. But like our group that's been playing a lot of like the LCGs and thus the Marvel, now we're down to like 3, and it's like, well, I guess we need to have tryouts or something for a 4. But at the same time, one of the guys was talking like, yeah, it'd be nice if we could play like a bunch of different, it'd be cool if we had more people so we could play like a bunch of different games. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that sounds fun, but I'm in just a different place now than I was 3-4 years ago when we started meeting up. Because these are people, they play Netrunner. They buy and print on demand the new Netrunner sets, and like. They bought into Ashes and then rebought into it when it came back. And so, it's like, I don't know if I really want to play competitive card games much anymore. I mean, I did like Rivals. That was fun, but I don't know if I found I've been getting my card game kick a lot better with like cooperative games. I've just been into a lot more cooperative games recently than competitive games. Oh no. I was just getting caught up on the chat room. Rusty Beetle says we were playing AEG's World Largest Dungeon. I've never even heard of this game. When the person whose house we were playing in moved without telling us, we all show up for the game at an empty house. He was in his 40s, married with 3 kids. We called him standing outside the house. He's like, "Oh, sorry, I moved, forgot to mention." How do you? What? What?
That's a.
How do you forget to mention that?
You've got like a standing thing happening on Friday nights.
Yeah. Like that's just like somebody in our group just suddenly just like not you show up to their house and they're just gone. Like usually there's like an announcement and there's like we usually have like a big event like, oh, here's a big going away kind of party. We'll miss you sort of thing. That's crazy. Sorry, I'm still processing that. That's just wild to me. Kind of makes you feel like that's well, I guess he really didn't think of us that much if he didn't care to tell us he's no longer there. Also, that means they packed and left in a week.
You can do it.
I mean, I know you can do it, but if he's married with 3 kids, that's a lot of stuff to pack and leave and move in a week.
That's also labor, 5.
Yeah. Oh, World's Largest Dungeon was so this was an old game. That's why. Okay, this is an older story. World's Largest Dungeon was a D&D 3rd edition game that included every D&D monster in the monster manuals. Wow.
Nice.
750 pages mega dungeon. Wow. Yeah, because in 3rd edition, that was a lot of you can do it, says the U-Hawk. You could also pay people to do it too. That's true.
You can.
All right. So before we get to our topic, I've been slacking on some Patreon shoutouts. There's been a couple. Now, granted, that's because there's a handful of people that have still never given me their favorite game for me to do puns about. But Lance has been a backer for a long time, and I finally got around at least to getting into the mindset where I could do these puns. So if you don't have any idea what I'm talking about, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/boardsandswords. The $5 level, I will do puns for you. And that is, if you tell me your favorite game, I will make a list of puns and rattle them off. So in appreciation of that, Lance said his favorite game was probably either Viticulture or Mansions of Madness, but we already did like Arkham and a Cthulhu game before. I can't remember when. So I did Viticulture because it was a little bit more out there. So Lance, here you go. Number 1, Lance would probably whine if I never got around to this. Although if he gets stoned Meyer, he'll probably gloss over and miss it. Number 3, I should make sure Tusk can he hear it. Number 4, hopefully he'll have a great time listening to it. Oh, I'm already seeing grimaces. Number 5, I wrote out all these jokes, so at the end when I've gone through them all, they'll be read jokes. And number 6, you probably Merlot that one. How's that last one though? Yay or Chardonnay? Most people, as I can see in the chat room, are saying P no, just stop. And they probably have good Riesling to do so. And last, but certainly not least, so I will. It's time to go feed the Moscato. Now, anyways, I messed that one up. It's time to go feed the Moscato. Now, anyways. So there you go, Lance. Sorry it's been so delayed. And there's definitely been a few people. Let's see. I think Sean, Rice, and Jordan all owe me still their favorite games, and I will do this for you as well. And I need to get back on my horse and do this. So if you like those jokes that I did at the beginning, hopefully you enjoyed those. But now we got a topic here. So this is actually another Slack person, so another patron in the Slack. I think this was Mike Hargis that mentioned this. When we asked for some topic ideas, this was actually a while ago. It's been sitting in our topics to do for a while. It was what should developers do more of? So like what in games, this one's good. We've got enough that we could talk just board games on this one. What things in board games should developers do more of that maybe aren't being done enough of now? Rusty Beetle would like me to point out that as a backer, you can request no puns. So literally you can pay me to not do puns.
I saw. Sorry, this is, but the paying you not to do something. It was hey, due to the price of gas, I'm going to start selling nudes. $5 to get one, $25 to not get one.
MU Jedi appreciated there, so that's great. I'm glad you enjoyed it, because I'm pretty sure that is Lance in there. So hopefully he enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's Lance MU Jedi. Yeah.
So before we get into going back to the planning part, I usually post this in the Slack, and I post this on like our Facebook group to kind of get some community input. But I was like, this time I was like, I'm gonna post it on Reddit and get some kind of feedback there. So this morning I posted some stuff and actually got, at the time of this recording, 96 comments about a lot of different stuff. I'm not going to be able to go through all these. And there's some that's like, I felt bad because it's like, I asked for this input, but there's some that's like, I know why publishers aren't doing that, but I don't want to read those and be like, well, this is why they're not doing this, and this is why, because then I'm just defending publishers, and why the heck would I do that? So, Philip, what would you like to see in board games that you aren't really seeing enough of now? Well, regardless of whether somebody's actually doing it.
More of what, and not to put them out of business, but more of what Broken Token is doing with games, and companies like that in general, just helping with the teardown, the setup and the teardown.
Organization.
Yeah, I mean, stuff to make it just to, because there's, I mean, I tried, we've tried playing Power Rangers twice, I think now, and it's just, we got, I can't remember if Mike or Nickel said this. It was like there was just so much stuff that we got analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
It was just like, hey, what do we want to do? I don't know. I got like 600 pounds of Power Ranger board game. Where do we start? I don't know.
You really, honestly, the for that problem, you probably should just start with what's inside that base box, and then we'll expand.
And just pull that way. No way, man. We got rid of the base box. They gave us a bigger box. To store
yeah, that's true. Well, then you start with the bigger base box. But yeah,
bigger base.
Yeah.
But yeah, just some way of having
So a couple things to that. There are other companies doing it, but it's definitely
there are other companies. Yeah,
there's
so
definitely
Broken Token's just the I don't know.
They were the most recognizable. Like they had the most visibility. You know, you'd always go to Gen Con, and they'd have this very like huge deluxe looking booth, because they'd have like dice towers on the side. There was always like these really big birch, a lot of inserts and stuff. And other companies have done it. Like I bought the only Meeple Realty insert that I have is for Role Player, and I originally got it at Origins. But Meeple Realty as one of them. There's also Go7Gaming.com.
There's one called Folded Space.
Folded Space is a good one, because they're a little cheaper because they're not wood. They're actually foam core. So they're really professional grade foam core inserts, which are lighter and thus and also a little bit cheaper to make. So there's a bunch of stuff out there, but you're right, unless you know or pop the question somewhere or do the research, you don't know where those are, unlike the visibility that Broken Token had. And honestly, if we went through this Reddit page, half of these things are like inserts. They're like whole.
Are they?
If you scroll through, there's a lot. Hell, hold on. I'm gonna do a Control F for insert.
Okay.
I got 28 responses, or 28 different times somebody saying insert.
Word insert, yeah.
I mean, and that's I mean, granted, that's out of 96 comments, but half of those are like, half of those are me responding to stuff. So there's a foam core
filtering through
subreddit.
the main comment.
There's a foam core subreddit, and I know if you look for a lot of games, you can look on Board Game Geek, and people will have plans for foam core inserts that you can make yourself.
Oh,
I've
nice.
had mixed success with that, mainly because I can't cut straight. I always seem to like cut at angles, and so like all the boards end up like warped. So there's that, and yeah, like so obviously one big thing is organization and that sort of thing, and that's where like a lot of these people talking about inserts, and that's where it's like I can see why people don't, because it's like you never know if a game's going to take off. And like, what if they didn't really design for, like, they designed for expansions, but they didn't really know if they were going to do expansions, and then the game takes off and like, oh well, we should do an expansion, but we designed the insert for the box to not have an expansion, but now we have an expansion. It's like, well, crap. Oh yeah, there's also 3D printable. A lot of 3D printers do. There's a lot, like you could type almost any board game on Thingiverse and find an insert for it. If you have a 3D printer, but that's a whole nother rabbit hole you could go through. For me, honestly, when I thought about this, like the first thing I thought about, and that Rusted Beetle pointed out here, and that's colorblindness testing. That is, a lot of people are doing it, but not enough. Where it's like everything's based on color, and you know, if you can't see the color, it's like, well, crap, these two colors look identical. You know, a lot of games do it now where the shapes will be different in addition to color. So that you can tell, like, oh, well, I have the stars and he has the moons, versus they're both, one's red, one's green. And it's like, crap, I can't tell the difference between them. Another
the
thing.
Other guy's got the clovers, the other guy's got the horseshoes.
Yeah. Pots and gold and rainbows.
And the red balloon.
Another thing that a common thread again through the Reddit was people talking about rule books and like editing and all that sort of thing. I say this is my point of view with this, and it's something I've said for a while, is that one thing publishers need to do more of is playtesting the rule book.
Yes.
Not proofreading, because you can have a rule book that grammatically makes sense and still people get confused reading it and don't know how to play your game. But people need to, like, as a part of the playtest, like, you need to playtest your game, but then you also need to write up your rules and give your playtesters the rules, people that have never played the game, and be like, can you learn to play based on this? You know? And if they say no, or if they're like, this, we have all these questions, you need to address that. Because a lot of times companies have these things, and then you can look on a lot of games, and there's always like an FAQ or a version 1 or version 2 or version 1.5 rule book.
And
it's like
an errata that pops out.
Yeah, an errata. It's like you could have saved so much time if you had just had somebody else, like a handful of people, that would have told you that. And now yes, it requires more time, but like it's going to be better for your game that,
Some of those erratas are great. I've seen some of them, and they're so nitpicky on some of the erratas. Page 12, line 47, we forgot the E in the second the. Sorry about that.
Rusted Beetle says a rule book that also tells you how to pack the game back into the box. That's another key. That's a key thing. Let's see. Also, just going through here, Stonemeyer's answer to putting expansions to the box is just to sell you an empty box. That's not limited to just Stonemeyer. There's
Power Rangers did that. They're like, hey, we know we're giving you a shit ton of cards. Here's this empty box.
Yeah. Cryptozoic did that with the DC Universe or DC card game. It's just a big multiplayer. The only thing is, I've seen a lot of companies, when they sell you the big box, they sell you something exclusive that you only get in the big box. So at least it's not like, I'm not just buying the box. There's a special set of cards that I at least get. Like,
Renegades has
I bought the role player or the deluxe box for role player, and it came with the second expansion in it.
oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So because the big box and the expansion came out the same time, so there's a lot of people that didn't have it. So
Renegades came with some dividers.
see, there you go.
Artworks
Yeah,
dividers.
like
with,
full art dividers, if I remember right.
Yeah, full art dividers with titles up top,
Mhm.
and then blank ones that you could write something on.
Yeah. So you mentioned Renegade. This is the other thing I wish more developers did, and Renegade's a company to watch out for the next couple of over the next 5 to 10 years, because they've been doing some really interesting things that I'm kind of curious to see how it develops. Like, more importantly, it started out with the first of all, they've been hiring a lot of people that I've known from other companies have been coming over to Renegade, so there's a lot of great talent there. Secondly, they've been putting a lot of time and energy into the online space. Specifically, like they've been doing, and the pandemic kind of probably created this atmosphere. But they've been having like their Renegade cons, where it's an online convention that's just so like CMON had their CMON Expo, but I think they even stopped doing it before we even got to the pandemic because it was just too much money. But Renegade fixed that by it's like, okay, we're going to do an online convention. But it's great because it means like you've got people, so you've got RPG, because they do RPGs and board games. And so they had like, okay, we've got these GMs that are going to run our games, and just like Gen Con, it's like you go, you pay $5-10 or whatever, and you can get a seat and play one of these RPGs, which is great because how many times have you wanted to there's been I want to play an RPG, but I don't have a group, or nobody in my group wants to play that game, or I don't want to run, everybody wants to play it, but nobody wants to run it sort of thing. And that's the one thing I've always loved about Gen Con, is how easy it makes it for finding a game, scheduling a game, that system. Mm-hmm. Whereas Renegade has it there too. And they also had people on staff for running Tabletop Simulator and Tabletopia versions of their board games. So it was very much like an online con for their a booth basically. Mm-hmm. And then Rusty Beetle brings up they had streamed on Twitch, had Discord chats. It was really nice to see. You had a whole publisher taking what they would have done at a con and just all about them and putting all eyes on them for a weekend. And I think more publishers really should do that. Take the type of energy that you would put into a con, and you could probably get just as much if you just did stuff online. It's not that hard. I mean, I could teach people if they don't know how to. I mean, I'm streaming here on Twitch and stuff. It's not that hard. In fact, the only downside I would say about this is a lot of times they just give people generic headsets, and it drives me nuts.
Oh, yeah.
I that's the one thing, is just people, the audio quality. It's just a little bit of money, and just a little bit, and you would have been a little bit. And these are people that they're very public people. They should probably have decent sounding things to do.
We should be able to understand them.
Well, it's not just that. It's any of the my mic's good enough that you won't really be able to hear it. That's the problem. The fiddling, or chords slapping against you because the gain's turned up so high.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so that's something I'm kind of surprised no one else has really done. Games Workshop comes close because they have done big online kind of events in the sense of they do big streams, but their games also make it really hard to do online trial things because it's you're not there to physically move the pieces. It doesn't really work. I know people that play on Tabletop Simulator, but it's just not the same. Let's see. Speaking of which, Rusty Beal says publishers that are not afraid of making a game without miniatures. That's another common thread. If we look through here, there's a lot of people I'm tired of miniatures. And it sounds like it's really what people want. A lot of people want the choice where it'd be like, I would like to be able to buy the game cheaper if it meant it didn't come with miniatures. Or people just say, I want games to have miniatures when it makes sense for them to have miniatures.
Okay.
Not just... Because the problem is people know that if they fill a box with miniatures, people will buy it. Purely on if the minis look good. They don't care if how the gameplay is at all.
How many games can you point to on your shelf and say that?
What?
That it had minis, so you bought it.
I don't know if I've ever bought a game just for the minis.
Okay.
Usually there's another, like...
There's dice.
There's dice. There's also, like, the
the
company, the designer. I don't know if I've ever bought a game just because of the miniatures. Now you got me thinking. Maybe Zombicide, because I thought, like, then I'd have a crap ton of zombies for other games, like, because I was like, I could take all the zombies and use them in, like, Dead of Winter and stuff.
Oh yeah.
So now I'll go through some of the stuff through here. I like it with somebody mentioned. I like it with complex games have 2 rule books. FFG is famous for this. The one to teach you, like, learn to play, and the one that's like the minutia of, like, details, like keyword lookups and that sort of thing. Then there's, like, blind proofread rule books. More than one player aid or player aids in general. And Hoser 40K mentioned this as well. Reference aids equal to the player count when there's only, like, one aid, and it's like, can I see that? Because I let me try and remember. Yeah. So let's see. Consider setup and teardown in their packaging. I made a joke in there that was like, and include it in their time estimate. That's like, yeah, the game takes 30 to 45 minutes to play, but it takes you like another 30 minutes to set it up and put it away. Let's see. Another better inserts game thing. But say this, and here somebody made the comment that I was wondering, not everyone wants an insert and not everyone's willing to pay more money for an insert. That's the downside with inserts, is people are like, I want a good insert in the game, but it's like, it costs money.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, do you want your $40 game to now be $70 because they put a wooden insert in, or, $60 because it's got a custom game trays insert thing in there? A lot of people wouldn't. There's some people that'd be like, I'll take the cheaper game and then just go make my own insert.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of people that buy inserts for, like, Gloomhaven, but there's still even more that there's I think they call it the Yas. It's yet another storage solution.
Oh, okay.
There's a thing that's like, if you go get these Plano boxes, you can organize your Gloomhaven in a decent way without spending, like, the tons of money it would take to buy a wooden insert. Let's see what else we got here. Colorblind friendly components. So, but there's even some minor things in. There were some good points that people had that weren't even things I would even think about, and probably companies don't even think about. But just little things that doesn't even matter too much. Vertical box storage with the side box art. So meaning that when you stand the box upright, the artwork lines up that way.
Oh, okay.
Because a lot of people store their games vertically, and it's nice not having to, like, that's not a really big deal, and you don't necessarily need it. It didn't even need to be like both sides. You could just do one side so that if it's either way. Stonemeyer did this with I know they did it for Wingspan, but making expansion boxes the same height dimensions as the original box. Amen to this. Or just all the same size.
Yeah.
I hate there are some games. I was trying to think there was something that they were like each box is all. I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to look to see if which game I'm thinking of. But I know Arkham Horror, at least in the beginning, they're getting kind of standardized now with some of their Arkham Horror stuff. But no more 10 boxes. That's another one. That's annoying. So metal 10 boxes.
Oh, okay.
There are a
gotcha.
couple of games that do this. Better iconography. That's a big one. Play testing. So a lot of figuring out how the game fits into a box. Somebody brought up, I don't remember where it was in here. Somebody brought it up of showing your game, play testing your game with people that don't even play board games. So like, like seeing how well it does with even people outside of the board gaming hobby and how well do they like the game, that type of thing, and getting some feedback from them, because that helps you make your game more universal. Because it's like, there are games that we think are gateway games that like you show it off to a new person and they may be like, I don't know, no, I don't like this. But we're like, how do you not understand that? That's easy. Like, I play games way more complicated than that. And they're like, well, I don't. But then there's also obvious things in here that a couple people mentioned, but more inclusivity, including like those are like the obvious, like when I thought about these, those are like the first things that pop into mind, like not having your cover be all white male dudes, or showing off women in skimpy armor bikinis, that sort of thing.
It's not skimpy, it's high level.
Oh, okay.
It's high level.
Oh, the higher your level, the shorter it gets.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And also the diversity, and it goes the other way, in that the also hiring other types of people to make board games, finding different types of designers. Because somebody mentioned in here, they were talking about making games that aren't wizard or fantasy based. And that's how you get that, is there's a reason why there's a lot of games set in like Europe. Because that's where a lot of board games originally came out of, was from Europe. But that's who's designing it, is white male European American dudes. So that's why we get a bunch of like European American style games. But it's like, let's get something different, because maybe, here's a grand thought. Other people play games besides white male dudes. I just said male and dudes. I know that's redundant.
No, they don't.
Yeah, I know.
Shut up.
You're wanting to talk. We have probably just as many females in our board game group than we do, because most of ours are couples.
Lucky bastard.
Me and you balance it out, because my wife doesn't play games, and then
I'm just lonely.
Another common thread I'm seeing here: 2-player scaling, especially multiplayer games, because a lot of people are like, "Oh, this game plays great at like 3 or 4, but not at 2." Whereas I would imagine 2-player games are probably the most popular player count, because you got like a person and their significant other we're going to play a game.
Mm-hmm.
Catan,
recently.
Catan is the biggest offender of this, because it's like you always seem to have like more or less than the ideal player count for Catan.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And there's so many like Catan for 2-player rules out there that you just kind of have to figure out what's your best. Like, I like this rule, I don't like that rule. And another popular thread that came in here: making rules for 2-player does not mean that they're the same as the 3-player more player count. There's just a bot that you run as a third player, like a ghost player. That's not what people mean when they want a game that plays for 2 players. It doesn't mean I want to run a third player as a AI to make your game work. Larger text on cards. My old eyes are begging you. A lot of people are wanting sleeves as add-ons and Kickstarters. Or if you're gonna make a box that has like some sort of plastic insert, make it so that it works with sleeved cards.
Yeah, because that was a big thing when we started getting a lot of the Power Rangers expansions. Is people are like, and they were and some people are doing that double sleeving.
Yeah.
the really thin and then
Yep,
the proper
you do the
sleeve on
perfect
top.
fit, and then they put them in the regular sleeve.
Yeah. So they were like, yeah, as soon as I like,
That's bizarre. I don't know personally anybody that has ever done double sleeving, and that's taking it to a whole nother level.
that is a
On like
whole,
you're
I
like
mean, this
like I could see it for like this expensive rare Charizard thing, but that's like where you almost want to just like push it into resin and like seal it.
and then and yeah, it's done. Can't do anything with it.
Yeah, but on a
You know,
game that's
my 60 card deck is now the size of 100 cards because
Yeah.
of these sleeves. Like,
you know what that reminds me of? Have you seen the TikToks where the guy takes the screen protectors and puts them on his iPhone? And he just,
yeah,
where he does
last
like
video I saw, he was up to like 80 something.
yeah, he's got like, and so his phone is like the size of like 2 bricks now.
ridiculous.
Rusted Beetle says reasonable amount of iconography. Too many, and it takes a 3-page reference to find the icon. Too little, and it's a text fest. Batman, the Gotham City Chronicle, or the Gotham City Chronicles Batman game was a big offender of this, where you had to have like a separate printout sheet to reference all the different iconography. That game hits like so many of the things on this list, including the playtesting of your rulebook. See, it's somebody talking about consider financial accessibility by having multiple packages of their games from bare bones to deluxe. That would make the deluxe kind of more deluxe, you know? Like,
Yeah.
when it's like, oh, this is the version of the game and here's the deluxe, when you can tell in a Kickstarter, like, the deluxe is the actual version of the game. This is just like the minimum viable product. You hear people talk about the MVP. Like, here's the minimum viable product, but this is the real version of the game. It's like, no, well, here's the game, and then here's just like a collector's edition version of the game, where we just gave you like all the stuff you want. Like, I like Deep Rock Galactic did this because they had like, you could get standees or you could get minis, if I remember right.
Yep. Yeah. The standard version of the game has standees, and
Yeah.
the deluxe version has minis.
See, there you go.
Like, that's your difference right there.
Yeah. Post all your rule books on your website as downloads. Yes. Plus, when you do that, it means it's easy to edit them because you just replace that link with the updated version of your rule book.
Boom, done.
Yeah. So, oh, there's so many on here, and I will link that in there. We've hit like a lot of the big themes in here, so hopefully maybe somebody's listening to this. Share this out with your friends. Let them know so that publishers know. So,
Okay, I did find it. I was paying attention. I was also half trying to find, because Beetle said that did Beetle say it? About Renegade Con, a lot of the stuff they announced was just retail stuff. And I was like, wait a minute.
No. They said that yeah. He did say it. It's up higher in the chat. He said that everything was for a retail release, not Kickstarter.
Yeah. Well, the Light and Dark and the Villain Pack with Rancic, those are Kickstarter, so I can wait.
But is that all?
No, some of the other stuff they announced is now in my Renegade cart.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think they already made it. I thought they already made it pre-order.
It's pre-order, yeah.
Just like they already announced, there was a bunch on the RPG side. There's a bunch of Vampire and Hunter the Reckoning and that sort of thing. If you're big on the World of Darkness. Yeah, I'm still going through their videos because I've been doing a lot of watching. I'm doing a lot of YouTube and TV watching because I've been having my feet up, that you'll hear in the bonus bits. Speaking of which, we've hit all the highlights here.
We have.
I think it's time to roll that beautiful bean footage.
And that's been our show, everybody. If you like what we're doing, check us out at that patreon.com/boards-and-swords. Back us for $1. Chris will make some very amazing jokes about your favorite board games.
That's $5.
$5.
You get a shout out at $1.
See? Yeah, you get a shout out at $1. At $5, you get the board game jokes. So, I mean, that's just worth it right there. I mean,
That's
everyone
50
who's
cents a
listening
joke
tonight
right
can
there.
attest to that. Huh?
That's 50 cents a joke right there.
See, that's amazing. Yeah. So if you want to see when we're going to be live, you got to check us out. boardsandSwords.com/live. That's got the schedule and it's got the links to everywhere that we stream. You got the Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. I think Chris might have done something. We might be on one of those panels up in Times Square.
No,
Oh, that fell through.
that fell through.
Okay, all right. Sorry, scratch.
They wouldn't
that.
take
Nobody-
my. They wouldn't take my offer. I offered them a penny. They were like, no, 2 cents, and I was like,
Oh, dude.
I don't want your
yeah,
2 cents worth.
We are not worth 2 cents. All right.
Oh
And-
man, what'd you say?
And Chris is about to take it away.
Okay, feedback. We love it. You should send it. Let me know what I missed here. If you're a publisher, let me know why you shouldn't, why we aren't doing these, and what we could do as consumers to help. So
Go
feedback at boardsandswords.com. We're on social media, facebook.com/boardsandswordspod, at Boards and Swords on Twitter, at Boards and Swords Chris on Instagram. If you want to contact us, there's a way out there. Boardsandswords.com has everything. Philip already talked about that. And thank you for listening. Thank you for those in the chat room. Y'all have been great tonight. A lot of grateful feedback and helps make the show better. So once again, check out patreon.com/boardsandswords to help support the show. We'll be back in 2 weeks. It's actually a Sunday. We recorded on a Sunday. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another show. In the meantime, remember that every gamer has a story, and Phillips is on pre-order currently. The viewership always goes in right at the very end.
It does.
It's so weird. All right. Good night, everybody. Good night.